Okay, broadcasting this time from Lowydale, New York. The background you see in the picture is not where I'm sitting now. I'm sitting in my nice warm reading room, and outside it's in probably what, 30s, 20s. It's pretty cold. So we're doing a little background there of Lowydale and Forest Temple. This is Reverend Greg Kehn, and we're broadcasting from Lowydale. I've been a registered medium here now for 48 years and work with people all my life. Fourth generation, and just wanted to check in with you guys. I hope everybody's healthy, and I hope everyone's running along smoothly. I know there's been a lot of people having a lot of problems, and this pandemic hasn't helped things at all. I think it's sort of got everybody stressed out. One of the first things I was going to touch on is something connected with pandemic. The energy that I've been feeling, and this has been something that I think has affected the world, just one area affecting everyone. And we need to look at the idea that it's making us pull back and regroup and realign ourselves of what's really important compared to what we sometimes allow ourselves to be involved in or pulled into. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's in India, and he was talking to a yogi there, and the yogi had made a comment that it was something that mankind did not want to open up and really be centered and focused on what needed to be in life and what we're really here for. And therefore, we have circumstances occur that shut us down, pull us away from others, and make us really look at ourselves more. And I believe that's part of what's going on. But I believe there's some deeper things also beyond that. Spiritually, I really feel mankind has been so far off in a destructive mode that now we're being brought back to center in a way that is so different than anyone would have ever expected or thought about. And it's making people now re anchor themselves in a deeper way, spiritually and emotionally. And it's been really needed. And I felt that for a number of years that it was really needed, and we were getting so far out and so far away from things. I mean, I look at thousands of people go to football games or baseball games or racetracks, and the money, time, and energy and belief system they had was certainly not the healthiest. And now it's like to make us really be solitude for a while and think things over. I know some people still are not, but I think there's a lot of people that are, and they're really thinking it over in a deeper way. I've noticed that with readings that people are really centering themselves more and realizing, wait a minute, what did we invest our time, energy, love, and emotions into in the past? And that we got so caught up in these things in the physical world that our energy was being very scattered, let's say, and spent in areas that we don't need to be doing. And I find that now, those of us that are choosing to be in tune, like we're on the same wavelength here with learning and growing. I really believe that we're now at a point of getting in touch with what would be some people's referral as God's energy, Spirit's energy, guidance, our loved ones, our teachers, our guides, angel loved ones. I've had a number of people that are very religious people really want readings, and they were really searching for why all these things are happening. And they're realizing now they're stepping beyond boundaries of beliefs they normally had, and they're stepping into not only a spiritual belief system, but a recognition of how far off track we can really be at times. And now that we're being drawn back on track and we're realizing that we really need this, it's something there that it's a spiritual gift. And I know that, not discounting the idea that a lot of people have been sick and a great deal of people have passed away, but I really believe that it's a mass exodus of individuals that have chosen at soul levels, not the conscious level. Our conscious level would want to be here forever usually, but on a soul level, I believe that there are people that have fulfilled what they needed to, what they desired to, came here for, and they've now moved on. And I know that it may sound horrible in some people's belief systems, but I really believe that there are very many people at a soul level, consciously we could want to be here. I've witnessed it many times where on a conscious basis, the person would want to be here and hang on very strongly. But at a soul level, I knew they were saying goodbye to everyone and that they were doing this way ahead of time of being ill or, say, for example, an accident. They were having these experiences. And I've seen it happen so many times that to me it's just an everyday thing that people do and go through. Because at a soul level, I believe we're fulfilling our purpose of being here and what we're supposed to be doing and sharing. And then we reach a point where those things are achieved. And once they're achieved, our consciousness may say, I still want to be here with everyone and our loved ones and family. But I find that there are times this soul level takes over and says, okay, we need to move on forward. So we do. But on a spiritual level, I believe right now, like you're talking about people still being distant physically and what they can do with carrying all these viruses. I was watching something on the news today about how far a sneeze or cough would go across the room. And I find it amazing how many people, a medical doctor was on the air there and he made a comment. They asked him a question and said, well, what do you think of these people that are running around and they're not using a mask and they're not taking precautions, they're not staying 6 feet away? And he said it was really very ignorant of them to deal with things in the way that they are because they could be a carrier and make other people sick. Now, I look at all these things as being valid, but I see people that get themselves in quite a panic about things. And we need to look at it as what are we learning and experiencing and growing? And in what self control do we have to bring balance and harmony spiritually to where we need to be in our own life? And I find it's been interesting. We came up from Florida here, just a short time ago now, and we're broadcasting from Lloydale. But I find it interesting, it's like this community, for example, so quiet, and we really don't have anyone here that I know would be sick. And I know this end of the state, now New York City got hit very hard, but this end of the state, I think that we've had very few people in comparison having any illnesses. I don't feel this is going to go away in a short period of time. I believe that this is going to be here for probably a few years until our immune systems pick up and we really can fight it off. I do believe very much, though, that somebody somewhere, as a medical group or medical doctor, is going to find something that's a serum that would work very well, and that they're going to reach a point of giving inoculations to everyone that would need or want it. And it's something that I feel they haven't completely completed yet, but I feel it's coming out. I don't know who, don't know where, don't know exactly when, but I feel that's going to happen. And those of us that have not had it, I believe, can take the shot. And if it does happen where we would get it, it would be a very minor level. It'd be something that would be very minor and practically insignificant in a sense, and that our body will handle things very nicely. And I know that the way that the pandemic has been going, I know they're talking about it flattening out and, it's flattening the curve and all this. Well, I think it's sad in a way that they're coming out with it that quickly because I really don't see it as flat as they're letting on or they're trying to portray. I feel they're more interested in the finances and money and business, and that's the focus they're really having. And, as the president joked about it when it first happened, and then he let on now that it's important, but he was joking about it and thought it was sort of funny and said it would be here today and gone tomorrow. Well, I believe it's going to be with us for a few years until our bodies catch up with the immune system that we need. And I know there's some vulnerable people out there that have had other illnesses or problems in their body that has lowered their immune system, which makes them more vulnerable for what's happening. And I just suggest the idea that what they've said about masks and gloves and, awareness of being cleanly, I think that's just really important. And I believe that Spirit's helping us and guiding us. I really believe that the numbers are off on how they're saying now that it's flattening out that quickly. I think there's too many people out there that are either choosing to be very ignorant about it or just ignore things that we do have of difficulty in the world we need to take care of. I had a question come in over the email, and the question was basically stating, Can I avoid having a pandemic shot that would be a shot and a tracer in some form that would basically then, target each person with the idea that the government could look at who you are and where you are and everything like that. I really believe that we're going to have medication for people that'll help us without having some sort of marker added. And I feel that we're going to be all right. And I know in some other countries, they've done that. And they have markers now that they embed under the skin and stuff like that. And I've seen it happen in other areas, in other ways, other reasons. But I believe in America right now, we're fine. And I think they will come out with something that will be incredibly helpful. And I do believe the doctors that are coming out with this is not government connected. These doctors are just really working on the pandemic problem and that we're going to be all right. They're talking about the beds being open now, that they have plenty of beds and they have plenty of equipment and everything for everyone that would be sick. I think that's wonderful. And I think it's something that, if they're saying that it's flattening the curve a bit, that's great too. But I see too many people with the attitude that it's like, okay, it's over with, it's done, just go ahead and do what you want to. And I see people all the time, and the times I've been out where I've had to go out and be in a store or something, I see people walking around with, newborn babies, and they have no masks on. They have no mask on, and they just keep going like there's nothing wrong at all. I would hate to see a family member have any type of illness, or one of us bring it home to a family member, and I believe we can definitely carry it. So just be aware of that and thoughtful about that. But I feel spiritually, we're going to have more guidance and it's going to be working really well. I believe that we can bring this really to a halt, but it's going to take a while to do so. And I think it's something that is refocusing and purposing people's thought. Where are we really needing to be and what is truly important? And no longer look at it that we can just do anything in any direction we want to and nothing. There's no rebuttal at all in any form. Have any of you had it where you felt you went through it and you've already moved through it and it's something that's behind you now? If you want to raise your hand if anyone's had it. Because I know myself and Leslie, we haven't had a problem at all, and we're fine. And we drove up from Florida, and they had all kinds of stories going on about stopping people at PA line and Tennessee line, and not letting you go into the state, and all kinds of things. And we drove through, and it was like no problem at all. And nothing happened where anybody was having any roadblocks or any stoppages of any kind. The hotels were open, the restaurants were open, for drive-through, and we did just fine. It was the first time driving from Florida that the roads were empty. That was amazing. But I do feel we're going to have more happening here. And I feel that if we slack too much on the idea of being consciously aware of this, it's going to go back up again in numbers and it's really going to be a problem. And I just hope that all of us stay smart enough to be cautious and be aware of these things. And as long as we do that, we're going to be fine. Spiritually, I was asking Spirit about a few things, and they were expressing to me, if you think about the world around us, and I'm talking the world, not just the US, not just the town or city you're living in, but the whole world energy. There's so many things going on that was so separate and would draw us apart. And, there's a famous thing with people that it's like, I'm on this side or you're on that side. And we have this like enemy attitude towards each other in some form, whether it be a war or not. But I mean, there's like, I'm going to win type attitude. And I think it's very interesting to look at the planet around us and realize that everywhere is having some sort of problem with this, and to whatever degree. And I've seen a few areas where on the news they talked about different countries that handle it really well and actually have almost no illnesses because they were smart enough and wise enough and watchful enough that they took care of this and shut everything down ahead of time and knew that they needed to. And I find people, our focus of interest as well as what's important was so far off and so far into the money end of things and the power end of things that it's now reached a point where these countries are getting hit really heavily, and some of them have already, and it's beginning to slack a bit, and that's wonderful. But I just feel an energy now that it's like spiritually, our individual thought and prayer and energy and thinking, we need to be very centered on that prayer level and bring balance to the world around us and the awakening for everyone. I had someone ask a question about, like I know there's some areas of the country and even in the service they wanted to put tracers underneath the skin, and they wanted to do that with everybody, and they could literally control everything by knowing where you're at and choosing to know where you're at. They could control it all. And I really don't see that happening at this point in time. Now, other countries, they may be doing that. I know in a few places they were talking about doing that. And I don't believe that's happening in the US. I don't know about other countries, but I don't see it here. And I believe we're going to have the serum that's going to take care of it. And it's something that I want to say there's a time coming where I see it as a volunteer thing where the people can take it or not take it. And I think it's something that will reach a point that the one serum I feel coming out will be so effective and so helpful that everyone would want to take it. So that'll be coming up. I've had a few, like YouTube and a few things are talking about, the pandemic is being man-made and man-manipulated. I believe something occurred where things got loose that weren't supposed to get loose, and the governments in different areas, not in one country, but at two or three countries, knew about it, were aware of it, and they did nothing about it because they weren't going to admit to it. Now, I know China had a lot of problems and the government covered it up, even jailed the doctors that were trying to sound the alarm. And it's something that the one doctor died and he had talked to them about it for 2 years and they jailed him. And it's something there that they just literally covered it up. But I find that we have other cover ups in different areas around the world that are something that this is where it's forcing everyone to not only doubt and check things out, but forcing everyone that who can we trust and who can we not trust, and really bring us to the point of honesty and support without all the dividing lines and all of the political dividing lines and without all of the nation dividing lines. I mean, I've seen that for years. I've always thought of that as being so silly how mankind functions in that form, but we do. And I feel it's coming now to a point where hopefully, as souls, we really take a step up and share with the planet in a great deal better and communicative way and not have it in such a negative energy that we normally function in. I've asked my guides at times to work with me and they bring information to me. And I know there's times I'll feel things very strongly to share. And I know with everyone being almost frightened over the idea of going out places or being involved around a lot of people, I find that it's making us evaluate what we used to value and how we valued it. And it's now a new way of looking at it, a new way of thinking about it. And it's really, truly important. And I think it's going to be a good energy. So let's awake and be aware of what we can do and how we can do it. And that's going to make the difference we really needed. I don't see some big plan that the government is controlling or manipulating us at this point. I really feel they dropped the ball and they didn't handle what they could have handled when they had the opportunity. And just like the president, he didn't follow through on taking it seriously. He thought it was a joke, and he'd already removed all the medical people who were supposed to keep a watch on these things. And now he's wanting to really regain respect again by saying, oh, we're ahead of this and we're ahead of it and we're handling it. I just don't trust anything that's going on there. And I feel that all the people that have gotten fired and gotten rid of because they were going to speak the truth, that says a lot right there. But I believe we're going to pull out of this and we're going to be on track. And I feel people are going to be spiritually more awakened than we've been in years. So please keep that thought in mind. I feel a very positive feeling with this. I don't feel negative. And I believe that we're going to be back to socializing and sharing, and it will be able to be done in a comfortable and healthy manner. And I believe that it's a spiritual test at a soul level for all of us. And just to sit back and think about that, and how can we individually be the better person? And how can we individually bring the balance back into our lives in a way that we really want and need to? I think that's probably the most important factor there. But as we do that, that's going to really bring the harmony to us. Now, we're just kind of coming up on 25 after. I want you to think about some questions that you'd like to ask on a spiritual level. And hopefully it's not just a private message to you as a reading, but if you have something you'd like to ask about meditation, about helping to center yourself, or what you're feeling or what's coming, fine too. So we'll open up to that. And if somebody has something they'd like to ask, please raise your hand and we'll start with the first person.
I didn't see anybody raise.
I don't see anybody raising their hands.
Oh, there goes Jane. And okay, Jane.
Jean.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
So, it seems really chaotic to me. What's going on? I'm working from home now,
Yes.
and it's just it's so busy. I'm very blessed that I can work from home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned that they're going to open things up too quickly. You know, everybody's pushing for that, and the states are talking about it. But it just seems there is so much stress and chaos. Do you have any words of wisdom how to center in all this? Because it's just the amount of things that are coming in are just overwhelming. I mean, should you get up and go visualize white light, or how do you suggest to just keep your calmness in this?
Well, one of the things that I do is I know waking up in the morning, I like laying there for a few moments and really wake up, but I also send out the thought that I'm asking Spirit to bring the balance and the harmony not only in my life and the day, but also bring balance and harmony in the world around me. And when I say world around me, not just my own personal communications or contact, but I mean the world around me. And by sending out that intent and thought, you're setting your pattern and energy for the day. And you're also then sending healing energy to the world around you also.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not just the world that you're touching, but I mean expanding it way beyond that. And doing that, I think, will be very helpful. The other aspect would be realizing that it's actually a learning process and experience for people right now to awaken in ways they may not be used to, or they may not even want to do, but they're being pushed in solitude to have to deal with things. I know there's some people, like they had one young man on the air on a TV thing, and the young man was only in his 20s and he got very sick and came close to dying over it. And he had had the attitude previous to that that it's like, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm a young guy, it's not going to bother me, I'm not going to be sick. It's only the old people that are going to die. And he got very sick. And he's now really trying to change people's minds and focusing on the younger people that change their minds on what they're doing and how they're doing. And I think it's something that by our prayer and our thought going out in that form, it's really going to bring balance and harmony not only in your daily life, but bring balance and harmony in other ways. Because remember, it's a lesson for everyone, and everyone has a slightly different twist on the lesson. And for some people, they just get angry and frustrated. And then some people really look at it and go, wait a minute, what am I learning here? You know, what am I really gaining here? You know, I remember being in Florida and we were getting some carry out food from a restaurant, and you watch people walk up to the carry out window and they're respectful, they stay their distance, you know, they're really watchful of how to do what to do. And then you have people wade right in and stand, 6 inches from you. And I just look at the choice of ignorance that some people choose to display. It's pretty amazing.
Right.
I look at that in a sense of governmental people all the way down. I had a lady say to me a little while ago now, she said to me, do we have all of the people that are bosses and managers and presidents and all these other things? Are they the wrong people? They shouldn't be in those positions because they don't really care. And I understand that to be very true in some ways because what we've chosen to ignore in society, and just as long as my little life is okay, I don't care what they're doing. Well, that was very, very prevalent. And now people are starting to think about that and realign their thoughts in the sense of saying spiritually, what do we need to be doing? Whether it's voting for someone or what people are we supportive of, whether it be political or not, but I mean, what people are we supportive of and what people we now realize we don't need to be and shouldn't be, and we
Mhm.
don't want to promote that energy. And looking at the individual energy, are they coming from a spiritual level or are they coming from a very manipulative level? And for you to have that centeredness every morning you start your day, you're centering your day. And whoever would be in a chaotic energy coming into your realm or dealing with you at work or whatever, I see then you're bringing the healing to them and they'll calm down. I've watched it happen talking to people on the phone already. I do readings on the phone or I do readings on Zoom, and I could see the change in their energy because I know instead of their energy overwhelming you, the energy is being brought to balance and their energy is shifting and shifting to the harmony you've been working on and creating. And
Mhm.
by doing that, even though someone may call you on the phone concerning work and they're all alone about it, your energy projects to them, brings more of a harmony and a calmness, and it'll bring more peace to them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless. We just had a question over the email here about how many people are going to die. I don't feel that's appropriate. I would not even go into that. I believe that at a soul level, the souls that are choosing to leave and experiencing this, they'll be leaving. And I don't feel it's appropriate to go into any numbers. I wouldn't know them consciously, and I know spirit would not bring them through. And I believe that we may lose some more people yet, certainly, but I don't look at it as numbers. I look at it as the individual conditions and their soul energy and what pathway they're choosing to take. Whether we consciously want to believe it or not, you know, our date and time of us leaving, I believe the spirit world knows, God knows, and I don't believe consciously we do. Now, at a soul level, I believe there's times that I've watched people know, and I've watched people. I mean, my mother told me a year ahead of time when she passed away. She told me she's this month next year, I'll be leaving the body, and we sat and talked about it in the kitchen. And she said to me, she says, I'm not going to tell your sister or your father. You understand, and it's okay. And that month the next year, she did pass. And I know that it was very important for her to have the support from me of her opening up and sharing that energy. Now, I've also had people where after the person passed, they'd say, well, it was unusual. They stopped by and said hello to me and talked to me, and I hadn't seen him for years. And basically, they were doing that to say goodbye. And it's something that I believe that's a very sacred energy and a very sacred energy for each individual. And on a level of numbers or that, I don't go there with that. I believe God knows and the spirit world knows. I've had a number of entities come back that did not necessarily have the same beliefs I have, and they came back and they came through with the guardian angels helping them. They came through and expressed the fact that their family members or their husband or wife, that it's like, oh my God, I got over here and all the relatives were here. Everybody was here greeting me. It was like a family reunion. I believe the soul mind and the soul level has an understanding and knowing separate from the conscious. And our conscious then finally realizes. I had a gentleman that I read for on the earth plane, and I had read for him and his wife separately, and both of them were wonderful people and very, very devoted Catholic energy and all their lives. And it's something that he passed and he came back through, and he said to me, the first thing he said to me, he said, this message is for you. He said, everything you've told me, he says, has made such sense. And I explained to him when his mother passed, his father passed, and his loved ones had passed over, and their messages of guidance, their messages of understanding. And he said it was just amazing to know that they knew that much about my life. In a conscious level of my life, they knew that much about my life. And the daily things that were going on in my life, they knew about. And I believe very much on a conscious level, we need to understand that there's a deeper and more soulful part of us that really does understand all those higher levels. And on a conscious level, we may be impressed to do things before our passing. And I've seen it happen many times. And I've seen family members go, but they came and saw me, or they called me, and I haven't heard from them for years. Well, that happens. And the consciousness may not know completely why or what's happening, but it's impressed upon them from the higher level to communicate these things. You know, I remember walking out of the hospital when my mother was in the hospital in Youngstown, Ohio, and I was up here in Lloydale, and I had driven home and spent time with her, and I knew she was saying goodbye. And my father and sister came, and I said to my mom, I said, well, I said, you're going to be fine. I said, I know you're going to be all right. And grandma's already here. And I felt grandma's presence in the room with us. They visited. And right after that, the next day, I got the phone call, and she died at 4:10 in the morning. At 5:12, she was standing at the end of my bed at Lloydale. And my sister called at 7:11, and I said, Mom's already been here, and she's fine. So in these belief systems I've always lived in and believe, I know that Spirit's with us and helps us and guides us. When I was 11 years old, I died 3 times in a week. And I went through the tunnel of light, and I experienced all the loved ones that passed before me, and they were all there. And they knew I wasn't going to stay over there in heaven. They knew I was coming back. Now, I refer to it now as it took them 3 times to convince me, but I went through the tunnel of light back and forth 3 times and experienced a great deal of things that in the world are still happening that I experienced when I was 11. So I think there's a real deep soul level that we all have an awareness of to some degree, and the information can come through in a way that guides us. You know, I had a gentleman tell me one time, he was 97, and he lived in Erie, Pennsylvania, and he'd walk the golf course twice a week, and he would do 9 holes each time, and he'd walk the golf course. And he'd see these young guys go roaring by in the golf carts, and he was 97, and he'd walk 9 holes. And he commented to me at the end of the reading, he said, Greg, am I going to see you next year? And I looked at him and I says, you know, there's a choice. I said, whether you're going to be on the earth plane or not is a choice. And he said, I don't think I'm coming back next year. And he said, I just want you to know, he says, I've always loved and respected you in how you've helped and how you've guided and the things you've said to me and helped my whole family. And I said to him, I said, feel free to call me anytime. And he called up during the winter, and he made a comment to me. He said, you know, he said, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. And we talked about it. And I know at a soul level, he was really communicating with me from a soul higher level. And he had had five heart valves, and the doctors said they couldn't do a 6th one because he was so weak. And he passed over. and he had notes for his wife that she called me. And she said to me the day he passed that her husband had passed. And I talked to her on the phone for a while. And it was so interesting how he came through. And he said, now I understand the clarity you always told me I had, because he was incredibly intuitive. And he didn't think of it as being intuitive. He think of it as just thinking it through consciously. But he was very intuitive. And here he's in spirit, and it's the first thing he wanted to do was communicate with me and let me know he was over there and to give a few messages to his wife. So when we look at things, there's a soul level of communication, and our consciousness is running around on the earth plane here trying to catch up with everything. And what we sometimes consider important isn't really that important. And we need to evaluate that more in our lives now. Not that I have to say I feel someone leaving soon or anything, nothing like that. But it's the idea that if we need to look at that and realize, what are we really here for? And to recenter. As we do that, that'll make a huge difference. Anyone else have a
Yeah,
question?
I got 3 people. First one's Darlene.
Hi, Darlene.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
I actually have 2 questions. My first question is, have they made a decision yet if they will be opening the Dale on Time this year?
No, I don't think they've really committed a decision yet. I do believe we'll be open, but I do believe it may be a little different season this year with all the things happening. I know some people would be hesitant in coming because of the public energy, and I really feel we're going to be open. I'm lined up to teach a couple classes and do circles on Friday nights in the Octagon building. I look forward to it. I think that we're going to have the opportunity to have the medicine we need to protect us and help us. And I believe the board now, we did shift over from sending out the catalog to doing it online. So if you want to communicate and connect with Lloydale, we do have the address, and you just go to Lloydale, and it'll have the whole listing of things for seminars and classes. I know I had heard they had a little disruption where some of the people decided not to come and teach, so they're removing them from the list of teachers and the classes. But that's sort of normal. I mean, I think that would happen if we didn't have the pandemic. So I think that'll work out fine. But look on the internet, and you'll find a whole series of things there about everything that's going on.
Okay. And my second question is about the animals. And I'm wondering how they're being affected by the pandemic, because it seems that particularly my cats are being very unusually clingy. So I was just wondering, like on a spiritual level, what do you think they might be perceiving?
Well, we have a cat here, and it has been very clingy. And I feel that the energy, they're sensing all of the spiritual energy and changes that are going on. Most animals will pick up on spirit before we do at times. And I was just commenting to Leslie, we were sitting on the couch in the living room watching TV, and the cat was sitting right there between us. And she glances up at the stairwell going upstairs, and she's done this a few times where big-eyed, really staring. I mean, definitely seeing something. And I felt spirit there, and I said to her, I said, well, she's seeing spirit. And she'd spin around and look up at an angle towards the ceiling. And, there's no bug, there's no fly, there's nothing going on. And I believe very much that the sensitivity of the animals is not only greater than ours in many ways, but it's also something that they're so in tune to the up energy that we now experience. I believe we're understanding and feeling things more powerfully than what we normally would, because one of the very obvious reasons would be we don't have all the clutter going on and the drama going on that would be our everyday life. And to have a little more of a calmness, not saying we're not uptight over what's going on, but I mean, to have a little more of a calmness where we're recentering ourselves, we're becoming more open. And the animals are picking up on that surge of energy, and they're recognizing that there's more going on that is not the normal conscious level. And I believe the animals are super in tune. And I saw something on the news on Florida down there. They're almost out of pets to be adopted. And people are at home and they wanted to have the companionship, and they've adopted pets now. And you know, they're showing the empty cages instead of saying that they normally would be full. So I believe that people are, whether they're conscious of it or not, it's another thing. They may not be conscious of it, but they're reaching out in a loving manner, in an unconditional manner, to share, whether it's with people or whether it's with animals. And I believe very much the animals are completely in tune to that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you.
Next one is Scott and Rose.
Scott and Rose, hi.
He's unmuted.
Scott? Can't hear you.
Well, we can go to the next one and come back to him.
Yeah, we'll come back to you, Scott. Can't hear you.
Chris?
Yeah, hi, everybody. Hi, Leslie and Greg. In the 70 years I've been on this planet, I can't remember a shared experience, a global shared experience, really quite like this. There have been world events, landing on an asteroid like the moon or something like that, but nothing like this. And of course, the distancing and the isolation. Of course, I'm in Connecticut, we have the mask and the stay home order, has caused people to really try to make contact more with folks that they haven't seen for a very long time. Anyway, long question, let me shorten it up. You talked about lessons individually, and of course that's true. For example, I'm enjoying this way too much. But that so I've got to figure that one out. But given the fact that this is a world experience and the connections that people are trying to make, is there a shared lesson that you sense, or can you describe in parameter that might be helpful for us? World's going to look a lot different, I think, when we emerge here. Anyway.
Really a wonderful energy, and not discounting the thought of the illnesses and the passings, but I really believe that spiritually we're coming back to a caring about loved ones, neighbors, other people, no longer looking at people as the other side, but looking at people as a shared energy. And it doesn't matter what country they're in or what town they're from or what nationality they are, you know, it's a shared energy. And I think that's something that's so important for us to really awaken to, because, you know, for people to manipulate and control, they have to divide. And I really believe our society, and I'm talking world society, not just here in the States, but the world society was functioning from division. And as long as we can keep division, they're the good guys, I'm the bad guys, you're the good guy, I'm the bad guy, that energy just keeps going back and forth. And whether it is over a singular decision or a singular political thing or in nature, how are we going to deal with the planet and making it healthier? You know, I chuckled one time. I was listening to the news and they were talking about how the world has changed so quickly by not having all the pollution that would normally be functioning. And it was noticeable scientifically how much change there's actually been.
Mhm.
And I look at that and I get a kick out of it, because to me, it's like we were forced into this transition and change and how to deal with things. But it's also such a positive energy in so many other ways that people are not looking at necessarily. And I find that it's a wonderful energy in that aspect, because, you know, look at the pollution. I mean, they've already scientifically proven that it's made a huge change already. So if we look at things and realize there's so many benefits from whatever happens in life, whether we term it bad or good, you know, is a whole nother story, depending on what position we're in and circumstances we experience. But at an overall level, I feel there's a lot of good things coming out of this. and the sharing with people without having it as, well, this is a bad guy, or this country, or that country, or this nationality, or that nationality. I find it interesting the balance we're creating and the communication we're creating that I've always believed we should have, and even more, way more than what we're doing even now. But it's something that I believe that's coming about, and this is a taste of it. For people that have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the mind to understand, we're needing to further this and promote it and share it. And if we're doing it from our sincerity of heart, we're going to bring healing and harmony to everyone we're in contact with and every way we touch someone. And that's just so important. And having that solitude, I believe, has brought about so many shifts and changes that it, to me, is a wonderful thing.
Mm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Next person, Scott and Rose.
Scott and Rose.
Hi.
Hey, now we got your voice.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask for meditation, just how to, is there a good process for that?
Well, I think in the meditation, I'm sure I know you've meditated before, and your ability to focus on that. And I felt the energy was going in the right direction, and not to feel concern over it. But I see you looking for results and wanting to be able to have the results even faster. And I feel an energy there of needing just to put forth the energy of intent and prayer and thought, let it go. And when it happens, it happens. Because I feel that you've been getting with wanting to make it.
Is it possible to trance your spirit guide if you're not a medium? Some people seem to, have that ability. It seems to be like a special gift, but can you learn to do that?
Start with the first part of the question.
Some people trance their spirit guide, let their spirit guide use their body to give messages.
Well, I think that can happen, but I feel it's something there that we need to realize that not all of us are at that point where we can allow that to be a natural flow. And to know that they're helping us and have things pop in our mind as a symbol of guidance, and to allow it to happen, and you're setting that intent to allow it to occur. Now, I believe we're in the body for a reason. We're here for many reasons, and we're needing to recognize that it's not our spirit guides or loved ones working through us and living our life for us. We're living our own life. And you can ask their guidance, and I'm sure they'll help. And I know there's some people I've had it happen where some people said to me, well, when you get up and give a message, you're very quick with the energy, and it's there and it's gone. Well, my guides have worked with me, and I've learned to work with them, where when the energy comes in, I give it without question. And if we allow ourselves to practice what we're feeling and not sit back and dissect it, we're then going to have the clarity of the answers. But if we start thinking about it or debating it, we're then actually stopping the flow of what Spirit's giving us. And if we do that, we're then disrupting the whole answer process. And I know there's some people, I know I watched a few people in the summer claim that, they went into trance giving messages. Well, the quality of message they gave and the inspiration they gave with it, I wouldn't want that guide, and I wouldn't want it coming through, because if they're supposedly in trance, I really question that. And I've had it happen many times where somebody would claim they're in trance, and it's all their alter ego. And we need to be very clear with the idea that our separateness from spirit is there. Our ability to link as one is also there. But we need to have the clarity to make sure it's not our consciousness or our, say there's a manipulative part of us or a desire level that says, I want this to happen. And we just need to be real clear with that. And I feel you have the ability to have spirit bring you messages and guidance, and it's working well. I just feel with you that at times you feel a bit impatient with wanting to accomplish more faster.
Your answer brings up another question. How
Yeah.
do you stop your ego, you know, like your consciousness? Because I feel like I'm stopping it, like you said. So how do you, I don't know how to phrase it, but
Balance it.
how do you not let your human consciousness stop it from happening?
Well, when I find my,
I don't know how to put it in words. I'm sorry.
that's all right. When I find myself starting to think about something that I've either had as a question in my mind or someone else poses a question to me, if I start to think about it, I immediately put it out of my mind and I start over. And when I start over with, some people don't realize this necessarily, but it's almost like a meditative centeredness that I reach. And then it's posed again in my mind. And I wait for the answer they're giving me and not allow it to be something I'm thinking through. Or, for example, if it's something I really like a certain outcome, right? Like a certain event or a certain thing that, you'd want to own or purchase or something. And that if we can just take, when we catch ourselves thinking about it, set it out of sight and start over with making sure we're centered, and then have that question posed or that thought posed again. And that way we're keeping the clarity. We're keeping our ego out of the way and we're keeping the clarity.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
One
welcome.
last thing. Do you know when you said about the fall, the virus would stop? You still feel early fall, late fall? Like,
I really feel it's not a case of literally stopping. I feel it's a case that we're going to be functioning so much more normally by then, and things will be rolling along a lot smoother. And I would say between now and then, I see a good progression of things working so much better.
okay.
God bless you. Take care.
Thank you.
Two with questions. Narda, hope I didn't pronounce that.
Hi, I was wondering, what is the best practice for us to start our day to center and create harmony during these stressful times?
Well, what I find is, waking up and just take time to really get awake enough that you're actually awake. And then take time also to look at your own day, start with your own day, and that whatever you have planned for the day, or if you have a career or job, something to do, it's like you center on that energy first and you surround it with that light energy and that love energy, that it be in harmony, and that you may be flexible to flow with whatever energy is occurring, and you bring healing to everything you're in contact with and touch. And therefore, if someone was to call you, say, for example, you're in a work situation and someone calls you and they're really off the wall, you just calmly talk to them, and your energy then permeates their energy, and their energy becomes more anchored and more settled and more centered, and you're able to share that with the world. I always think about the world every day, but I think about the world in a way of a wave of energy going from the center point of me sitting and thinking about it and putting that wave of energy out and just gently affect everyone in a more positive way. May not change them completely, but it's certainly going to be a positive energy to uplift.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is Marina.
Marina?
Hi, Reverend. Hi, Leslie. Reverend, you asked at the beginning if anybody had had things that they had COVID. I don't feel I have had it, but it's very possible my daughter may have had it because she was flying back and forth, and you know how she is, never listening and taking risks, and had a really bad cough for a long time. And anyway, I gave her all my vitamins, my homeopathic remedies, but I don't know. I'm not sure she was taking them, but I mean, now she tells me she's better, she's not coughing. So my question, I guess, is if people get this once, are they able to develop immunity like, like you do with regular viruses, that if you catch something, you won't be able to catch it again? Like,
Well, I'm not a doctor and I can't prescribe, but the energy
Mhm.
I'm feeling is I feel that the virus has the ability to transmute from one level to another, and that you could possibly have something come back at a later time, but it may be a different form in some form. And I really feel that's something our body is already, obviously, then if we've had it already and we've gotten through it, our body's building immunity, and the immunity then would follow through on helping the person if something came back again. I don't believe that it's impossible, for someone to catch it again, but I do believe that it's something that would probably be very minor because your body's already fought it off.
okay, well, I worry about her. I hope she won't keep taking risks, if her body did fight it off. And I
Mhm.
hope, I
How,
don't know.
how old is she now?
She's 27.
Well, I feel an energy with her when you're saying that in most cases, she thinks she's invincible.
Yes.
And she just has to figure out that, luckily, whatever she had going there, I'm not sure it was the virus, but whatever she had going there, obviously she fought it off and she's okay now. And I think it's something just to be aware of. And this is for everyone to think about. We could be carriers and not know we're carriers and not necessarily be sick. And you don't want to be around the people that are impaired in some manner in their health, because then they'd be more vulnerable.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, I usually, take really good care of myself, and I keep hoping that, because, it would be really hard for me if my daughter or my mother ever got sick, for me to not go help them, I just wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, I think as long as we're doing the precautions we need to, I think we're going to be just fine.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Got one more question.
One more question,
Jessica.
Jessica.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Ask a question.
Yeah. Uh, I have a question. I live.
Oh, she just muted herself.
You just muted yourself there. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I live in New York City, so every day many people passed away in my neighbor.
Yes.
And then now this pandemic, I stopped meditation. I don't know what kind of a meditation do I need it, because I, even though sometimes I feel that I don't want to communicate it anymore, because it makes me feel too much people die surrounding me, my
Yeah.
neighbor. Even though 2 days ago, I went to grocery shopping with my daughters. When I come back, it took me half a day to finish because we have to make a long line. It makes me so scared because I'm from Queens. It's most hottest spot that I live.
You're in the hot spot there, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Every day, couple of 100 people die, and then when I hear the ambulance sounds, makes me feel, oh, again, some people gonna pass away. That makes me feel very sad. And then I escape from the reality. So I don't go out. I do completely different things. So
Hmm.
I stop to meditation. I avoid what I feel.
Well,
And
think of it this way, dear. By looking at the idea now, you're in the hot spot, and I'm sure you've heard about plenty of people that have passed away or their loved ones are sick. And to look at the idea there of the positive energy you're putting out for those who are in the living. Now, whether someone would be sick or not, you're putting out a healing energy for everyone. And if someone passes over, you're putting out a healing energy for them. You know, my grandmother taught me when I was very, very young. We'd go to a funeral, and my grandmother would say to me, remember, healing occurs here or hereafter. And to not view it as something that necessarily is horrible that someone passed over, because it's a new energy, a new beginning, a new life on the spirit side. But it's also an energy that we're needing to understand that those souls have experienced what they've needed to, accomplished what they've needed to, and the transition of them going to a new energy, new beginning. It's something that at times, you know, we judge it by feeling terrible that we lost someone. But in reality, they fulfilled everything they needed to, or they wouldn't be leaving. And I know some people consciously would debate that, but in a reality level, you know, at a soul level, they've come here for what they've come here for, and they've achieved it. And I look at it as surrounding them in light and blessing them. And the loved ones that are left behind on the earth plane, living on the earth plane, they have a tough time with that and a tough time accepting that. But I look at it a little differently because I'm happy that, like my mother, when she passed, she had 8.5 years of cancer. And 8.5 years of cancer was really tough on her. And when she left, I was relieved that she was no longer in pain. She was no longer suffering. She was no longer on morphine. And to me, that was something that was a blessing. And I know there's some people that certainly in the situation you're in, you see more of it and you deal with it probably every day. And to just surround them in light. And I pray for the families, and I pray for them to reach a point of understanding and acceptance that they could be at peace with. And to not take it on personally in a way to say, you know, I'm feeling this pain, because you feel things with other people. And you feel things, whether it's the person that's passing or whether the people that are family around them, you're feeling the energy, and you're at times letting it carry over. You're like a sponge and you absorb some of those things. And it's okay to do it in a prayerful manner and let go of it, but let's cleanse a little bit by letting go of it. You bless them and you release that, and you're not carrying that energy then. You have angel loved ones around you that have protected you and watched over you and your family, and you're doing wonderful with it. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you. We're a little after 7, after 8 now, and we'll probably close up shop here. But God bless everybody, and I hope everyone stays healthy. And, you know, the old saying of healthy, wealthy, and wise, let's do all of it. But I think we're going to be fine. And I look forward to talking to you guys next time. And we'll keep sending out the thought and prayer. We're making changes in people's lives that you don't realize you're making. So take time to allow it to happen. God bless you. You take care now. Bye-bye.
You.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank
Everybody
you.
be
Thank you,
safe.
Greg.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Greg.
Bless
Yeah.
Love you, Greg. Thank you.
you. Take care.